We're going to be talking about the voice of the associate.
What's up? I'm back. So for this segment of the pod, I'm going to be talking about the VOA board, and I'm going to be talking about different types of associates who work there at Amazon, like the people who are blissfully unaware, and we got the people who are aware but they're very docile about the situation, like they don't want to talk because most people working are kind of like in a situation where they need to provide for their families because of all the stuff we got going on, and they're kind of desperate. So let me just hurry up and get to the point of the situation. So we got people who are literally writing on the VOA board. They'll write stuff like, does the GM not have power to give us a raise? Because we all have these questions. I've tried talking to the GM myself, and just on different subjects about giving us a pay raise, and he kind of told me like they would do their best, or that Amazon would do the right thing, which I think was kind of funny. But some of the other things that people write on the VOA board, before I get to that, writing on the VOA board for people, it takes a lot, like, because you got to be thinking about it, and you got to actually be trying to take a stand and actually write like what you're thinking without fear of being like retaliated against, or and you also have to write your login, which I'm gonna leave that part out. But basically, some of the things that people will write on the board include safety issues, like we got bins that are all messed up, and they'll be like, hey, this bin is messed up, like, can we get this fixed? And then other stuff we'll have on there is, why does safety think it's okay to harass people? Yes, literally. And this is like, they're not the only ones who feel that way, because I definitely have felt harassed by security. I felt harassed by my managers about these rates and these standards. One of the things I was about to write on there one time, but I felt like I'd be picking a fight, was we need the managers and the PAs who are enforcing these standards of work, or like rates and quotas and everything. We need them to be able to actually complete these tasks as well, but they don't know how to. These are people who are standing around at a computer all day and are assuring you that the work they're doing on the computer is a lot harder and a lot more important than the physical labor that everyone else is doing in the building. I've asked like my manager, hey, how many times you think someone, walking 10, 15 miles, doing all this picking or stowing, or standing 10 hours a day? I asked him, like, how many times do you think they would have to go to the bathroom? And he goes, I don't know, maybe 2, 3 times, 4 times. And it's like, well, nah, bro. I mean, you stand in one spot most of the day, so it might be like that for you, but people who are working like that might have to go to the bathroom upwards of 7 times, once an hour throughout their shift. So let me keep going with some of the other things that are written on our VOA boards. For instance, people are asking that they bring salads back to the break room. People are asking if we can have better food options in the break room, which is another thing that I've kind of tried to cover a little bit of. And it's like, everything is very, very expensive. A lot of the food is not very helpful with work. It's not very much work oriented fuel. Like, it's just expensive stuff. And some of this stuff is like, if you try to eat a meal there, most of the time you're caged into eating a meal here because you only have a 30-minute break. You're not going to be able to leave the building and go buy anything. So you have just enough time to go to the break room and spend an exorbitant amount of money on whatever they have there, and you're going to still end up being hungry. So you end up spending like basically the equivalent of what you work for an hour. You spend 15 bucks. You spend an hour of your work time just to eat and still be hungry. So it's a very stressful and irritating situation to continuously find yourself in. You'd have to have planned to, get food before. Some of the other stuff that people ask about on the VOA board include talking directly to the general manager about like career choice and things like that. Hold on, let Let me see what else we got here. There's a lot of stuff. It's constantly like stuff that you'd be like, yo, why is this an issue at Amazon if everything is so great? And it's better this way because at least I'm not just saying this myself. These are other people and they're all like anonymous. I'm not gonna say who it is who's saying this. I don't even know who they are. They're just saying stuff on the board. Some people are probably too scared to write their login on the board. They just want answers to these questions because it's that bad. People asking, my question was erased from the board without an answer. Can we have protein shakes in the break room? Can we have the AC adjusted in the mez? ICQA arrives at 4:30 a.m. and AC turns off at 5 a.m. and then turns back on at 6:30 a.m. Basically, the mez is like way too hot. It's like a big mez or a maze with all these products that you walk around in and you pick and stow items up there, and it's hot. It's extremely hot, and it's just not a very good place to be. Can I have a talk with leaders because they're rude to us associates? Straight up, they're rude to us. They act like we're just like robots, and they're like, you need to do this, this, and that, and they don't care about if they could even complete these tasks that they're asking us to complete. One of them says bring back salad because they've taken salad out of the break room for whatever reason. Third floor is too hot to work in. When will the air conditioners be fixed? These are constantly being asked. Vending machines don't give you back change. Why? Someone also asked, we should have a Miss Sat 4 contest, which is a little weird, but hey, this is real life. This is what people ask. The women's restroom is warm and smells bad. I don't know what the hell people are writing this stuff for. Please have received trans scan their ASINs. A lot of carts and cages have empty barcodes and CSX. And said, why is day shift leaving 100 T cards in the mez for night shift? Just a lot of crazy questions like this, and we don't really, sometimes we get answers and then we literally get, thanks for the call out. We'll give you feedback. And like questions where we ask directly, like, why are managers so rude to associates, and like what's going on with, certain situations. They'll be like, thanks for the call out, and we'll get right on that, and we'll schedule a meeting to talk about understanding your question. There's nothing to understand, like when it's a very obvious question. Like, it's crazy. Some of the other answers we get back, hold on, give me a sec. It's just really funny. It's an interesting place to work when everybody's kind of like starting to realize that there's the situations that they don't care. Hey, it's not me saying this. This is stuff that people are writing on the board. Going a little bit more in depth on the relationship with actual associates who do physical labor in the warehouse versus the managers and PAs who do like computer work and labor tracking and stuff like that. We've got these learning ambassadors who get a vest and they don't get a raise, but they start acting really like specific. Like they act very differently. Like, so they'll be doing things like revoking people's permissions on some of the machines and operated lifts. So that actually makes it a lot harder for them to get their jobs done. And they'll do this over the pettiest things. Like someone literally revoked my permissions for parking in the wrong area, but I literally told him, I was like, hey, I just got to use the bathroom right quick. I'm not parking. I just need to, run into the bathroom right quick and I'm coming out. Dude literally decided to go behind my back and remove my permissions. I was then not able to perform like my job on the pit, like picking, for 2 weeks. Didn't even know why. Didn't know why I had my permissions revoked. I ended up finding out that this guy had removed my permissions just to like spite me, just to mess with me. And I had to completely retrain on this pit in order to start picking in that way again. But before that happened, this actually led me to getting written up. So it was like he did it on purpose, and it in turn ended up being a situation where I got written up because of it. And literally the same guy who's gotten a hold of a little bit of power in his vest was literally like the word I would use is accosting. He was accosting another associate literally later that week or like the next day. He's like, so at the end of the day, when you were done working on your your pit or your OP, your pallet, your motorized pallet jack or whatever, he's like, did you charge it up or did you leave it to die? Like, did you put gas in it or did you just leave it to die? And the guy's like, dude, it's the end of the day. I don't remember. I was rushing home. And he's like, yeah, you left it to die, so I revoked your permissions. I'm like, dude, you just sit around and mess with people like that? Like, it's a toxic work environment. It's sick. 'Cause these are the people who don't actually physically do work. They're just doing, like labor tracking and checks and balance type deal. So it's a lot of stuff, and that's one of the people who is getting the carrot and stick. So he's over here thinking, oh, if I keep doing stuff like this and I keep doing administrative type tasks, I'm gonna get a promotion, I'm gonna get a raise, I'm gonna get this or that. And it's like, that's not even the case, bro. Like, you're just another person who's, working here, and you don't really have any power over people like that. And you shouldn't be abusing your status or your status as a learning ambassador. You're supposed to teach people. You're not supposed to be making their job harder and making it possible for them to get written up. I was super chill about it and was just like, okay, I see what you did, and I just accepted it. But because I'm used to people doing weird stuff like that, because not a lot of people have had positions of power, and that's what happens sometimes with people. They start acting all weird because they had power. There's a lot of associates here who are blissfully unaware of the way that they're being treated because they're so engrossed in trying to make a living for their family that they'll put up with whatever. But then you have a lot of people, like I said, who are docile about the situation, and you're just kind of like, whatever. So that completes my segment for the BOA, the Voice of the Associate Board. I'm going to make sure I add this to be a regular segment in the podcast, because it's very important to hear, like, specifically what they're saying, and that way I don't have to, like, go it alone and say it all myself, for sure. Surviving Scamazon podcast, only on YouTube.